Get ready, y'all, because coming up next, we have Donald, aka Tall Gamer Harris, who is an executive producer with over a decade of games industry experience under his belt. He's worked on titles like Titanfall and Battlefield, and he especially loves creating games that take people out of their everyday lives and propel them into a world of fantasy. So, without further ado, let's see some hype in chat for Donald, aka Tall Gamer Harris.
Hello and welcome to my talk. I want to thank everyone for coming out and spending some time with me. My name is Donald Harris. I am the executive producer at Farbridge. I am also the founder of ATX Game Makers, which is a community that is built on increasing diversity in the video games by way of mentoring, tutoring, resume building, mock interviews, you name it. We're trying to help you get into the games industry. You can find out more about us over at atxgamemakers.com. But that is not what you are here for. What you are here for are the 10 business development commandments. And so outside of doing executive production at Farbridge, I also do a lot of the business development over there. So I will start showing you guys my screens here. All right, and you should be able to see the slideshow. So let's start off with what this presentation is all about. So the things that I'll cover in this presentation is my background, give you a little bit of information about me, who I am, where I come from, what is it that I do, and then do a discussion on what is business development, and then present the 10 commandments, and then a couple of takeaways that I think, if anything, those are the things that you should leave this this talk with, that bit of information. All right. So again, who am I? Donald Harris is my name. Online, I go by Tall Gamer because I am extremely creative. I'm 6'8" and I make video games, so Tall Gamer. Anywho, some of the games that I've been a part of in my past are Titanfall, Ruby Grim Eclipse, which we did over at Farbridge, as well as Battlefield Mobile. And I'm a big Battlefield fan, so that one was super, super fun. But more importantly, and I think something that you will focus on a little bit more, are the deals that I've closed throughout my career. So these are some of the bigger deals that I've closed. Wizards of the Coast, which you've probably heard of, EA, Gearbox, did a lot of work with Dell, spent 10 years there. And then Rooster Teeth, which is a multimedia house that's in our backyard here in Austin, Texas. They're amazing. Those are the ones who own Ruby Grim Eclipse. And so kind of touched on this in the beginning. My current hustle is ATX Game Makers, which is, again, the community that I founded. And then I work at Farbridge as an executive producer, been there for about 4 years of the 5 years that company has been in existence. So been there forever and a day in my terms. Some of the companies that I've been with, part of the past is Electronic Arts. Again, I was also VP at Goldman Sachs, and then I was a relationship sales rep over at Dell for about 10 years as well. So I've been in the sales game and business development game for quite some time, but video games are my passion, so I had to meander my way in here. So what is business development? Well, the definition says the activity of pursuing strategic opportunities for a particular business or organization. So in gaming, that means to develop games for IP holders. So getting hired out by IP holders to develop their games, partnering with publishers to get your game published and marketed properly, or getting investments into your IP. So that's how we're going to frame the rest of this talk and how we're going to frame this conversation. So on to the first commandment, know yourself. I've given a lot of talks over the years, and this particular slide does come up often in all sorts of talks, right? Number one, first and foremost, you got to know yourself, right? What is it that you want at the end of the day, from doing business development, do you want a bigger bank account? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you want increased popularity to take your career to the next level, right? Define what you want as a goal. Like, seriously ask yourself what's important to you as a person who is going to be in this position, right? So if you're owning your own studio, do you want a bigger bank account, or do you want just enough money so that you can reinvest that money into your own IP and help you build that IP? Ask yourself these questions and hold the answers close to your heart, right? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to stay true to yourself. And that's the whole point of knowing yourself, is so that you can remain true to yourself. And that's very important in a small studio or a solo dev team, right? If you're not in a small studio, this is where the second commandment comes in: knowing your team, right? Get an understanding of what your teammates like to do. What are they best at? What are they very, very passionate about, right? And so this can have a multitude of positive effects on you. When you're bringing in deals for your team, and you bring in something that's going to excite your team and that's going to bring out their passions, you're going to get a better quality product, right? For my team at Farbridge, and I'll probably touch on this a little bit, I wouldn't bring them a sports game. Not one person on that team has said to me, you know what I'd like to make? I'd like to make a baseball game. No, I won't. Like, if it comes across my plate, I would either find another way of handing it off to a sister studio, or just, politely declining. It's not something that we're going to be terribly interested in. But if you say we're going to make a fighting game, I know a couple of people would push me over to get that project done in our studio. So knowing your team is very important. It'll also help drive your conversations as to what you're doing out there when you start looking for business. And then, this has to be said: knowing what success looks like, right? And so this kind of calls back to the very first slide of knowing yourself, but understanding what success is. This does the most important thing, which is giving you a goal, right? And so, is it to make money to sustain the business? Is it to grow the dev team's skill set? Like, for instance, one of my goals that was given to me by my leadership team was, hey, we want to spread out to a new platform. Okay, well, I know I wanted to switch, so we started talking, and the management team agreed, hey, let's try and get something out on the Switch platform so that we can say that we have that skill set. Well, boom, I focused all my efforts, uncovered all the rocks, and I found a project where we could take Ruby Grim Eclipse to the Nintendo Switch. And so that was a deal that I orchestrated, and that made a lot of people happy, right? Our engineering team got to work on a platform that they've always wanted to work on. The art team absolutely loved it. There were some awesome, cool things that we were able to do with that IP. So understanding what success looks like is truly important, right? Because it makes your job easier as a business developer, and it gives you that goal to drive to, so that you don't lose track of whatever it is that you're focusing on. So understand that, like, if you have a leadership team, get with them and define what your success looks like. And then, once you have that, you understand your team, you know yourself, now you need to know your product and understand your pitch, right? Within Farbridge, it could take us months to develop a pitch. And so we will be working month on month, getting every word just right. Every possible question that we think we can get from a potential customer or potential partner, we ask ourselves and we answer it, and we practice these answers to the point where once we get in front of the customers, our slide deck is secondhand. The slide deck cannot be there. Like, I feel 100% confident that me and my exec team can get in front of anyone and pitch our IP without the slide deck at all. And that's how you want to be with your team or on solo, right? So going to different conferences, and you're at, Game Devs of Color, you're at whatever conference you're at, you need to be ready and kind of in the back of your mind, and I put this line down there for definitely the in-person events. Um, always being prepared, having that 5 second, that 30 second, and that 30 minute version. You won't believe it, but like being that prepared will come in handy. You will be in an elevator and you will see the VP of Mucky Muck Business, and that's the person you've been trying to get a hold of. You got 30 seconds. Go. And you gotta not be able to stuttle, perfect timing. You got to be able to not stumble over your words and be able to be right on time. So know your pitch inside and out. Be ready. There's all sorts of different use cases of being prepared and knowing your pitch. If a team member is sick, not only knowing your pitch, knowing their part, right? So that you might be able to fill in the gap when they're out. Be prepared. This I cannot stress enough. Don't if your boss calls that 8th meeting to practice that pitch, don't roll your eyes. Go in there. You need it. You need it. Doesn't matter if you're practicing. You need it. Next up, knowing your customer. Great. You know yourself. You know your team. You know your product. You can pitch it inside and out. Okay. You know who do I pitch to? Oh, great. You want to be prepared and have the right people to go after, right? You don't want to go and start talking to a studio head if you're supposed to be looking for a publisher, someone to help market your game. Studio heads aren't going to do that. They can help you with getting co-development work. So do your research on them. And not only, yeah, that's the other thing. When you find the right customer, do your research on that customer, right? So if we are looking at different publishers and this particular publisher, let's say we want to make a scary game, right? Okay, does that publisher work with any other scary titles or any other horror titles? No, then they're not the publisher for us. They're not going to understand our end customer, which is the player, right? So know your customers, know your potential partners enough that you can identify and say, hey, these folks will understand me. I understand their business, so they're going to understand my business. And that's what you want. And then we work in the high-tech industry, right? So video games are changing daily. We have VR headsets. I got VR headsets all over my desk and all of these crazy things. We have crypto. We have different platforms coming out and fading out and new ways of engaging our players. You as a business developer have to keep a pulse on the industry. You have to know what's new, what's old, what's coming out there. This can give you the opportunity, if it lines up with your other goals, to say, oh, hey, this thing crypto is coming out. Okay, well, let me understand the blockchain. Oh, boom, I'm the first one, or we're the first studio to make a blockchain game. And now we're best in class at it. You're best in class at it because you're first, right? So that gives you that competitive edge, having that knowledge, being in the industry, knowing where it's going, right? And there's several, I listed a few here. There's several different aspects of the industry to know and understand and keep an abreast to, right? You have to do that. That's just knowing your industry. That's you have to do that. That's definitely a commandment. Keeping your nose clean, along with knowing yourself. This is another slide that makes an appearance in all of my pitches and all my decks, my talks, is keeping your nose clean, right? You see the news. You can go to Kotaku, you can go to Polygon. There's going to be an article about so-and-so did X, Y, and Z. As big as you think this industry is, it's not. It is insanely small. Everybody and their mom is connected by social media. I've seen both bad and good things happen to people just based on their reputation, right? So the one great story that I always like to tell is that this one guy I knew, I didn't know him. He lost his job and gained a job, and he wasn't even there. There was these two studio heads, and this guy was like, hey, I'm having to, I shipped this game and I'm going to get rid of this artist. He's an amazing artist, but like, I just don't have room for him anymore. And this other studio head was like, yo, I need a 3D artist. Who is he? What does he do? Blah, blah, blah. And literally, like, I can always remember that's like one of the very first conferences that I went to. And I saw this happen, and I was just like, that is insane. Like, this guy kept his livelihood alive because of his hard work, his reputation. No one's gonna be like, yo, I know this guy, he's a cheater and a liar and all of this kind of stuff. You want to hire him? No, that story doesn't happen. Keep your nose clean. Be authentic, be respectful, be professional at all times. There's always someone looking. You know, I can't stress that one enough. So if you find yourself, if you're not in a smaller organization, or even if you are, I'll bend this around to help you to understand this, but staying in line with your studio heads. So I'm at Farbridge, I'm a part of the executive team, so I kind of don't really have a choice of this. Like, I'm staying in line because that's the team that I report to and work with directly. But if I weren't, and they decided to make a change in business, or a change in direction of business, let's say they're going from, hey, we're never going to touch VR again. You know, we're only going straight console. And then I go out, I don't listen to them, or I'm not in line with them. I go and spend 3 months working on a deal that is for VR, then I've wasted everybody's time. And so it's incumbent upon yourself as the business developer to truly understand where the studio heads are going, you know, what their goals are, and make sure their goals are your goals so that you understand them. Now, if it's your business, right? And so you are that leader, you are that studio head. And that goes back, kind of going back to knowing yourself and staying true to yourself, right? Hey, you said when you first started this thing, you were all about 2D platformers. So don't go and try and do co-development on a 3D game, because that's not going to help you develop your skill. Yes, it may get you a little bit more money, but how is it going to affect you in the long run? It's going to make you unhappy. It's not going to be a project that your heart isn't into, right? So stay aligned with your studio heads, even if you are that studio head. Then, you know, success, right? You get the deal closed, right? You think your job is done. You got the big cardboard check, and it's like, yeah, all right, you did it. You're not done, right? One of the biggest things that I find myself doing is protecting my team. So I manage that relationship, even though the contract is done, everybody sign off, great, everybody's happy. I still have to protect that team, and I have to manage that relationship. There are times where different companies and partners that you work with share different cultural values. They may have different work zones and things of that nature, right? And so, you know, hey, Mr. Customer, thanks to that $10 million check. Oh, just to let you know, we don't work on Saturday. We don't work on Sunday. Those are the weekends, and our core hours are from 9 to 5. You know, we don't do crunch, or, you know, you might want to say it a different, more polite way, but, you know, our team is done working at 5 o'clock. And so that's something at Farbridge that, yeah, it comes up from time to time. We're very, very protective of our team. And so, you know, even though somebody's giving me a big old bag of money, I still have to be that guy and say, hey, you know, this is the way we work. You know, I have to stay engaged with them, making sure that they understand that. And then also there's other things about being staying engaged with your partners that you've just closed, right? New business can come up, new ideas, new potential business can come up. So always stay engaged. Don't think that just because you got the check that it's off to the races and just doing the development. There's more work to be done. Then it goes into relationship management. That's a different talk, but I digress. And so, oh man, yeah, I shake my head at this because this is a commandment that I have to learn. I don't know, every time. Patience is a big important one. These things take time, and I'm not just talking the multi-million-dollar deals. The $10,000 deals can take just as long as the $4 million deals. You know, there's a deal that it took me about 6 months to close, and probably about 2 or 3 months of that was lawyers. And, you know, I had already had the handshake, I had the verbal, yes, Donald, we're going with Farbridge, we're doing business with you, we love you, blah, blah, blah. And then it's off to the lawyers. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, oh my God, like you guys, how many more emails can you send back and forth? These deals take time. There's some of these deals have big parts in it, especially if it's dealing with important IP, right? You got to have different stakeholders at different points of the company to sign off on these things. Just because their business developer said yes to you, he still has to go through his checks, lawyer checks, IP holder checks, investor checks. The list goes on. So be patient, and understand that patience is going to benefit you in the stress area, right? So you don't want to stress yourself out, and you don't want to stress your customer out. You don't want to hit them with like 38 emails in one day. So chill, bro, chill. So the key takeaways from this talk, again, reputation is everything. Like I'm a very big proponent of having a squeaky clean reputation. Being yourself, right? You got to, I hope that my personality has come through on this. I'm a big goofball. I know that I'm making games for a living. I'm not saving anybody's life. So I like to have fun at work and I like to have fun, and this is who I am. So always be yourself. Just talked about being patient. Do not be aggressive. It won't end well for you or the customer. And then get an understanding of your clients and partners. I have been in situations where people have tried to do business with me and they can't tell me who the CEO of Farbridge is. And I'm just like, yo, did you even go to our website? Like, what are you doing? And it's very off-putting because it's just like, okay, well, you don't even do the work to get the work, but you're asking me for work. Don't do that. And then again, know yourself. Know what makes you happy. Know what makes your team happy. Those things are very important. So with that said, that brings me to the end of this talk. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, more so on Twitter, at Tall Gamer. And then you can reach the ATX Game Makers Discord, which I'm at Tall Gamer there as well, at atxgamemakers.com. It's an amazing family there to join. And I think we're somewhere close to 800 people. So yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask and I will talk your ear off on that. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Donald, for that super dope talk. As for everyone else, have you checked out our sponsor booths yet? If you haven't, go set up some time with them. Talk to them about potential partnerships or publishing opportunities. And also follow us on the socials at gdocExpo.